On Wednesday, England takes on Argentina in the World Cup semi-final. But the biggest question is no longer whether England can stop Lionel Messi. It is whether any team can overcome a VAR system that many people now believe has already decided who it wants to see in the final. Consider this statistic. Since the group stage began, Argentina has benefited from 4 VAR reviews being overturned in its favor. Not one has gone against them. 0. They are tied with co-host Mexico for the highest number of favorable VAR interventions among the teams still remaining in the tournament, and they are the only quarter-finalist without a single review going the other way. This isn't a fan page counting controversial moments on social media. The figures come from Northeastern University's Sports Data Group, led by network scientist Brennan Clean, and published earlier this week. That is exactly why what first sounded like an internet conspiracy after one controversial match has grown into something many supporters believe can no longer be dismissed so easily. It all began with the game that ignited the debate. Round of 16, Atlanta. Argentina trail Egypt by 2 goals with the second half quickly slipping away. Then Mostafico puts the ball into the net to make it 3-0, only for the goal to be ruled out. VAR identifies a foul by Egypt's Marwan Aia on Argentina's Lisandro Martinez during the build-up, long before the shot was taken. Egypt still remain ahead. Just minutes later, what appeared to be a clear penalty appeal involving Mohamed Salah inside Argentina's penalty area receives no review whatsoever, with VAR choosing not even to recommend a second look. Moments later, Argentina scored twice during the closing stages, the winner arriving through Enzo Fernandez deep into stoppage time, sending Egypt out of the World Cup. Egypt's coach does not hide his frustration afterward. Perhaps they wanted Messi to remain in the tournament, Hossam Hassan tells beIN Sports. Sometimes there are external factors beyond the technical side of football. The world champions receive support at every level. Zico goes even further, calling the result fixed without hesitation. Egypt's Football Federation then submits a formal complaint to FIFA requesting that the entire officiating team be removed from the tournament. This is usually where the traditional narrative attempts to defend the existing system. Clean's research tracked every VAR intervention for every team relative to 100 fouls committed. Argentina ranked second among all teams receiving the most favorable interventions from the technology, sitting only behind Mexico. Clean himself is careful when explaining those findings. As an academic, he understandably chooses his words cautiously to avoid creating legal problems with FIFA. He describes the numbers simply as VAR correcting missed decisions made by officials on the field. Yet the statistics themselves appear to speak far louder than the carefully measured academic language surrounding them. At the highest level of international football, repeated mistakes do not normally continue benefiting exactly the same team for consecutive times purely by chance. According to those questioning the pattern, this is no longer statistical randomness. They argue it represents a consistent trend. Clean's figures, in their view, merely reinforce what many fans already believed they had witnessed with their own eyes, that VAR has effectively become Argentina's safety net whenever crucial moments arise. But the debate extends beyond VAR alone. Critics argue that the favorable pattern continues with the referees themselves during open play. Return to Argentina's opening match against Algeria. Messi scores a hat-trick that equals the all-time World Cup scoring record. Yet during the 32nd minute of that same match, he drags his studs down the back of Isa Mandi's leg in a challenge many believed deserved a straight red card in virtually any major competition. The referee awards nothing. VAR reviews the incident but declines to intervene. Former Manchester City defender Needham Anyuha tells ESPN that it should have been a red card. Alejandro Moreno is even more direct, insisting it was 100% a red card for Lionel Messi with absolutely no excuses. Messi remains on the field and completes his hat-trick. Then look at what follows because supporters arguing this theory insist the numbers become impossible to ignore. Argentina received no bookings against Algeria despite committing 13 fouls compared with Algeria's 8. Once again, they finished the Jordan match without a booking while Jordan collect 3 yellow cards despite committing almost half as many fouls. By the quarterfinal stage, Argentina have accumulated only 3 bookings, the second fewest of any remaining team in the competition, despite committing the 4th highest number of fouls throughout the tournament. Calculate the ratio and the difference immediately stands out. Argentina receive 1 yellow card for every 19.7 fouls committed. England, playing in the same tournament under the same laws of the game, average 1 booking every 6.8 fouls. The rules of football are supposed to apply equally to everyone, Yet critics argue they only seem to be enforced consistently when the decision does not disadvantage Argentina. Then FIFA unintentionally gives conspiracy supporters what they believe is their strongest piece of evidence without anyone needing to leak a single document. For France's quarter-final against Morocco, the team viewed as the biggest obstacle between Argentina and consecutive World Cup titles, FIFA appoints an entirely Argentine officiating team. All 5 match officials, including those responsible for VAR, come from the same country, something that had not happened at any point earlier in the tournament. The announcement appears on X almost simultaneously with the controversy surrounding Argentina's match against Egypt, quickly attracting more than 32 million views. France coach Didier Deschamps publicly attempts to downplay the situation during his press conference, but many observers believed his frustration was impossible to hide. Then attention shifts to FIFA president Gianni Infantino himself. After Argentina narrowly survive against Cape Verde, he speaks with Argentine television and admits on camera that he suffered emotionally during the match before quickly correcting himself by saying he meant neutral supporters who were cheering for both teams. For many critics, however, the damage had already been done. They argue the president of World Football's governing body had openly revealed an emotional attachment to Argentina's success. They then ask how supporters are expected to trust the integrity of the competition while the Argentine Football Association has reportedly faced scrutiny connected to an FBI investigation involving more than $300 million allegedly transferred through American banks and linked to its primary sponsor. Those advancing this argument claim that if senior leadership becomes associated with major financial controversies away from football, it becomes difficult for some people to believe everything on the pitch remains beyond question. In their eyes, questionable finances in the boardroom and controversial VAR decisions on the field become 2 parts of the same story. They also insist this is not an isolated controversy but a pattern stretching back almost half a century. In 1978, Argentina hosted the World Cup under a military dictatorship and needed to defeat Peru by 4 goals to qualify for the final. They won 6-0. Years later, Peruvian Senator Gennaro Ledesma testified before Buenos Aires court that an agreement existed between the 2 military governments to influence the result and improve Argentina's international image. In 1990, Brazilian defender Branco claimed he became dizzy after drinking from a bottle handed to him by an Argentine physiotherapist shortly before Argentina scored the winning goal. When Argentina's coach from that tournament was questioned years later, he reportedly smiled and replied, "I'm not saying it didn't happen." Following the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, Louis van Gaal openly stated during a Dutch television interview that he believed the tournament had been arranged so Lionel Messi could finally lift the World Cup trophy. In elite football, supporters are unlikely ever to receive a written confession from FIFA proving such accusations. Yet critics continue arguing that many of Argentina's greatest victories have always been followed by lingering suspicion. To them, this tournament represents only the newest chapter in a much older story. Now, on Wednesday in Atlanta, Argentina meet England in the World Cup semi-final with Messi chasing yet another scoring milestone on football's biggest stage. But according to those who believe the conspiracy, England are not simply facing 11 world-class footballers on the pitch. They are also battling the institutional influence of FIFA and the officials operating inside the VAR room, whom they believe have already decided which team they want to protect. For favorable interventions, 0 against. That remains the statistic repeated by critics, and they argue no amount of public relations messaging will make that number disappear.